Hi, and welcome to Hashtag Dev Talk. Thanks so much for joining me. The title of today's Hashtag Dev Talk is Triple S, 3 Things You Should Look For in a Job. Organizations are smart. They realize that when they are hiring someone, that's actually a pretty big commitment. In fact, they understand that hiring someone is a little bit like getting into a relationship. The right relationship can cause your life to thrive, and the wrong relationship can cause your life to capsize. So they're very careful when they're looking to fill open spots in their organization or they're looking to promote from within. They're careful about who they choose. They do a couple of things. They use the job description, which is in essence a document that describes the duties and the functions and the tasks that this particular role will perform. And they compare it basically to your resume as well as whatever interview they have with you. They also use what's called a job specification. So this is in essence a list of the qualifications, the experience, the training, the skills, even the emotional characteristics that are important for success in whatever the role is, and they compare it to their assessment of you. Another thing that they look at, which is a bit more subjective, is will you be a good fit for the organization in terms of whatever their culture is? Will you be a good fit for the team that you're going to be a part of? Will you be able to enhance the team that you're going to be a part of? So here's my question for you. What do you look for in a role? Are you as careful as companies are when you are, in essence, selecting a role or selecting an organization? I want to share with you 3 things that you can add to whatever your current list is that you should look for in a role. I call them triple S. I'm very proud of that title. The first S is strength. You have to ensure that whatever the role is, that it is playing to your strength. There are many benefits in ensuring that you're selecting a role that you're good at or that you have the potential to be good at. According to Gallup, when you are working in an area of strength, employees actually tend to be more engaged. And how they define that word is engagement is feeling more committed, involved, enthusiastic about your role. The other thing, according to Inc., is that someone who's working in an area of strength, that they tend to be energized. They feel energetic. They get energy from this role, as well as their performance tends to increase. In a previous video that focused on strength zone, I talked a lot about the disadvantages of working in the opposite extreme, which is a weak zone, that you end up struggling. So you're working doubly hard basically to do an okay job because it's in an area of weakness. That you lose credibility with your boss, you lose credibility with the members of your team because they're having to compensate because you're not working in an area of strength. That it can impact your self-esteem, that it can cause you to become discouraged, and worst case, it could possibly cause you to lose your job. So you definitely don't want to work in the opposite extreme in terms of working in an area of weakness. Bottom line is, try to ensure that the role that you're going for is tapping into your top strengths. If not your top strengths, at least your middle strengths, but definitely avoid jobs that are looking for you to perform from an area of weakness. The second S stands for satisfaction. You should wake up each day and go to work energized and satisfied by what you're doing. I like definitions, so I looked up a couple of definitions for satisfaction. The first one from the Oxford Dictionary says, fulfillment of one's wishes, expectations, or needs, or the pleasure derived from this. The second definition is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and it says, a source or means of enjoyment. Now, I know it's work, right? So I'm not saying that all aspects of it is going to be something that brings you enjoyment, but a good bulk of it should. It needs to be something that you enjoy doing, that you get fulfillment from doing. And I guess what I would ask you to do even now is think about your current role. What aspect of it do you really, really enjoy? Like you get energy from doing this piece. Or even think about previous roles that you have. What aspect of it did you really enjoy? Like I've had a couple of roles, and in one role I worked at a college, and there was an aspect of my job where I had to give student orientations and tutor adult as well as college students, just helping to guide them through the system. And in another job, I worked in internal communications where I had the opportunity to help keep employees knowledgeable about what was going on in the organization, what were the goals, what were the strategies. Part of my role also included ensuring that different departments were communicating so that everybody was on the same page. Got a lot of satisfaction from that. What aspects of your role or the past roles do you find that bring you satisfaction? Then my recommendation is to lean into that. Now, if there are parts of your role that they don't really bring a whole lot of satisfaction, well, number one, that's life. But number two is, are you in a position that you could delegate aspects of that to someone? If not, then just do some work and maybe talk with some folks to see if you can find strategies to manage that part. But it's important that whatever your role is, that you get satisfaction from doing it. The third S stands for salary. Your job has got to pay you enough, at least so that you can live. And that is to the best of your ability. There are going to be times in life where it doesn't. And right now, that's the best that you can do. But your ultimate aim is to find a role that is paying you what is just normal in the market, and that you're not just able to survive, but to thrive. This is why teachers recently took to the streets basically to protest, because they want to make enough so that they can live and take care of their families. One of the things that I want to highly recommend that you do is to negotiate your salary. And I want to suggest that for a number of reasons. The first thing is this: your salary is going to have long range impact, basically your entire time in that organization. So let's say that you interview for a job in a new organization, or let's say maybe it's an internal position and you interview for that. And they offer you, let's say they offer you $35,000. That's great. And let's say the next year you get, let's say, a 3% raise. Okay, so keep that in mind. But let's say you negotiated your salary, and instead of accepting $35,000, you negotiated it to $40,000. Well, 3% of $40,000 is always going to be higher than 3% of $35,000. And the next year, they may offer you another raise. Well, it's going to be based on that last figure. So it's just important that you negotiate your salary. The thing is, a lot of employees, when they're offering you a job, there's actually a range. It's typically not just one figure unless you're working in a government organization where sometimes there are specific figures no matter what. But most employers have a range. So let's say the range is between 40 to 55. So there's wiggle room in that range. The second impact is once you leave, for example, a role, whether it's going to another role or you leave the company altogether, there are some employers that ask, what did you make on your last job? Now, I don't think that you can do that in all states. However, the point is that you see how your salary is following you. So it's just simply important for you to negotiate your salary. I remember negotiating my salary twice. The first time they did give me what I asked for, and the second time I didn't. But I was glad that I had the courage to do that. But it was tough because I kept on thinking, oh my gosh, I'm being so greedy in asking for more, or just scared that they're going to say, you know what, we don't need you for this job if you're asking for more money. Those were the thoughts that went through my mind. But I had the courage to actually sit down, do some research on Glassdoor. I think I also went on PayScale to see what other people in that role were getting paid. And I sat down and I thought through what I wanted to say. And so when the time came and I got that offer, I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But would you consider X? And then I explained what I brought to the table and all that good stuff. And the person actually said yes. I was absolutely thrilled. The second time I did it, I did the same thing, but, I was given the response that at this time they're not able to do that, which is fine, but I'm glad I had the courage to do it. Speaking of that, the research basically shows that while more people are negotiating their salaries, women are still behind men where that's concerned. I want to share some research with you that shows that. So women, the bottom line is I want to encourage you to negotiate your salary. Everybody should, but women especially, we tend to lag behind when it comes down to negotiating for our salaries. Glassdoor did research on this, and here's what they found. Back in March of 2016, they found that 10% of workers overall said they negotiated and received more money, basically, when they went to their bosses and negotiated their salary. They found that there was a slight uptick in this. So it went from 10% back in 2016 to 17% in March of 2019 of workers, full-time and part-time, who said that they reported, they, in essence, negotiated their salary and that they ended up getting more. But the Glassdoor research also found that more men were doing this than women. Another piece of research comes from Robert Half. This is a global staffing firm. And they found that in 2017, so they break it down by men versus women. In 2017, 46% of men and 34% of women negotiated their salary. In 2018, they saw an increase, but women are still behind, where 68% of men negotiated their salary, but only 45% of women do. This other part I find really interesting. This is actually research that was published in January of 2019 in the Industrial Relations, a journal of economy and society. This is what they found, which I find interesting. It says, when given the chance, women are as likely as men to negotiate their salary, but that opportunity doesn't present itself as often for women. The lead researcher goes on to say that men are more likely than women to negotiate when it is not explicitly made known that wages are negotiable. So it's almost in a sense like women are waiting for permission. They need to know that they know that the salary is negotiable before they ask, whereas more men were tending to ask whether they knew that it was negotiable or not. Draw whatever you can draw from that, but bottom line is you never know till you try to just go ahead and negotiate your salary. And hopefully the worst is that they say no and you can live with that, but you made the attempt to do so. Be as smart. You and I need to be as smart as organizations. We need to have our particular list of things that we look for when we're looking for a job. We need to make sure that it's playing to our strength. No job will completely play to our strength. No particular job is, you're not going to be able to do any particular job perfectly. There's always going to be room for improvement, areas for you to work on. But in as much as it's possible, make sure that it's playing to your strength. Make sure that the job brings you satisfaction because you're going to be spending a lot of hours sometimes there. So make sure it brings you satisfaction, and make sure that it's a salary that you're comfortable with and that you can live on. Thanks for joining me for #Dev Talk. Until next time, have a wonderful work week.